you're on camera telling the man to get away from you and back away from you, and this is during COVID, and he get this close in your face.
But the point
you are
is
within
that
your right to remove that person out. I'm not saying you had to knock him out, but
so that's
if you would have laid a finger on him like this, your ass would have been in jail. Even though it was
but my point
self-defense.
is that I'm more powerful when I'm thinking through the scenario, because the thing that I'm focused on is at the results. I'm not focused on the current situation. And I think that we as people often focus on how we need to react to the current situation instead of being proactive with what it is that we're doing in order to get to the results that we got to.
I think we're good.
He had no bearing. He had no impact or influence or anything on what it is that I was going to be doing the minute that he got out of my presence.
Did he go to jail? Did he get arrested for stalking and harassing and attacking you?
Maybe.
Absolutely not.
Maybe.
No, he did not go to jail. He did not see it.
Maybe.
No, he did not.
I'm telling you,
Then say if he did he? No.
I don't believe that he went to jail, but I do believe that he was affected financially.
We cannot ignore disadvantages that are systematically put against us, like our ancestors didn't. Our ancestors didn't just deal with what they did. They said, no, we want better. So I'm not going to say racism don't exist. I want to speak on it. I want to make it. No, I want to make it. How can you get a problem fixed when you can't even acknowledge it's a problem? So that maybe content creators in 2-3 generations won't have to go through that. But if we just ignore blatant racism, that don't help no one. Just because we got what we want, now we want to ignore it. We have to look at it's bigger than us. There's people coming after us. That's all it's about. I think you're looking at it on very like people.
Well, you have to look at it.
No, it's
based
system.
off of people.
System.
But people make up the system.
Let's say I smell right now. Let's say I stink.
No, you smell
good. But let's say if I did. Let's say if I was stinky.
I just got to say that for the people because
I don't stink, just so y'all know. But
she
I'm just giving an example.
Smell really
let's
good.
Say, what is that?
Dolce. Shout out to Slicks with the good smell.
Shout out. But my point is, let's say if I smell and I'm like, damn, like I took a shower, I put on, I still smell. You have to got the root. The root might be maybe you're eating pork belly and Pepsi every day. And that pork belly and Pepsi coming out your pores. So you might sit there and wash and put the deodorant, but the smell's still there because you didn't go to the root of what it was. So at the end of the day, we all out here making moves. We doing our thing. I am all for us making our money, taking care of our family, but we have to always acknowledge that underlying smell, the root of everything is going to be racism and white supremacy. It's okay to acknowledge it. Then you can say, okay, let me cut that out my diet. Now I'm smelling better. So my thing is, I think it's dangerous to not acknowledge it. Even that instance that happened with you with that white man in that bakery, and they sat there and let that man attack you. And then
so the thing for me, what she's saying is, I do agree. You should try to get to the root of issues, but this is the philosophical side of it. Most people are focusing on the discipline of it, whatever the discipline of looking at the root. There might be like some kind of psychology, maybe sociology. But the reality is this. In philosophy, you can get into the infinite regress of knowledge. So she said she brought up the root. Somebody could, be smelling bad. What's the root? Is the root that they're eating the wrong kind of foods, drinking the wrong kind of foods. Then you get into why are they eating the wrong kind of foods and drinking the wrong foods, right? Then you get into that part. Then you get, okay, why are they doing that? So eventually you got to stop somewhere and then start working from that point. So that's not a contradiction to what she's saying. I just want to make sure people understand that even what she said may not be the root of it all. It's because what I've seen this stuff happen. Somebody goes, well, why are you drinking those kind of high in sugar and salt and fatty foods? Well, maybe you're pregnant. Maybe it's because, why are you pregnant? Well, I'm pregnant because I like to have indiscriminate, indiscriminate activities of copulation. So you get all that kind of stuff, and then where are you going to go? Why do I do that? Well, because my dad abandoned me and I didn't have a father. So when you're talking about on an individual basis with a person and you go to the system, you don't have to stop there necessarily. Or sorry, when it comes to the smelling bad situation, where are you going to stop? And I think Anton, I don't know if he's going to get into this point of it, but the reality is you got to think, okay, each layer, how can you prove that there's a definitive line between the action and its source? Correlation is not necessarily causation. And so she's not going to do that. I'm sure, because I don't see many people actually make a connection between one and the other. There's like loose fringe psychology out there that'll say, well, the reason why Black people do this or do that because in their cells, they still have slavery in their cells and their memory and stuff like that. It's like on a subconscious level. And so those things can happen.
Yeah, they call it epigenetics.
Yeah, I've seen people say, the reason a woman that was extremely obese, and the reason why Black women are obese is because of systematic racism.
That's crazy.
So
is crazy.
Yeah,
people say that. Okay.
Help the Bear says, I think Black folks going to be talking about how racism affects us in the year 2196. Sheesh. When do we say it doesn't anymore?
I think these kind of conversations. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I think we stopped saying that when it actually does stop impacting us. The problem is what Vulcan was talking about is the inaction, the paralysis that it puts on a community when we have something else to blame, right? Anton Daniels is kind of espousing something that I really love, and he hasn't said it. He might get into it later on, but really to interpret what he's saying is you controlling those situations. The only thing you can't control is yourself. She's essentially saying like what that man did to you in that bakery should have done A, B, and C. He's saying I didn't have to do that. It didn't affect me like you feel like it would have affected you, and he was able to get a better result out of it. She's right. He would have probably gone to jail. There's probably some sort of rage bait that was happening there. But the problem with the community is just because it's real in some spaces, we stop there. Right. That's where we put all our focus, and we don't work on ourselves, which is also part of the problem, right? A lot of people, especially modern folks, want to do what they want to do the way they want to do it when they want to do it, irregardless of rules or structure or standards. It's just like, hey, whenever I want to do this, I want to be able to do this, and no one should be able to tell me I can't. But the problem is that's not how real life works. It's not how society works overall, and that's why there's so many of these types of issues going on. So
Yeah, and also the reality is
that was something she's referring to the system though. The system, she says that's the root of the cause. So if racism, white supremacy is white meaning class, white people that's classified as white, is supremacy, total control. So all the problems black people have is coming out in this route. So yeah, you have
but that's not true though. That's inaccurate.
Well, definitely total control would be inaccurate. I mean, I'm assuming they mean like total in the absolute sense. It wouldn't be. They say like as far as from our vantage point or the vantage point of non-classified white people, maybe they might feel total, I guess, to them, but I don't think it's total at all. But even aside from that, I'd want to say you can get to the root of that. From the Christian perspective, the heart of that would be the nature of man. Even if there was a thing called white supremacy, if that exists, whether it exists or it doesn't, for the Christian, we're going to go, okay, why are they doing this? Well, man has a sinful nature. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Only God was meant to have absolute power. So if they have this absolute or total power that's being stated, we have a good reason to believe that they would be corrupt with it like anybody else. Part of my issue with the white supremacy argument, though, is even if you grant it, why do we assume that if somebody else had that level of control, they would be more benevolent?
Because we assume that because if you look historically, you don't see black people historically running the world the way white people are doing. You haven't seen it on this level.
We haven't seen them run the world, or we haven't seen them run the world like this.
Haven't seen them run historically, I haven't seen them run the world. When I mean run the world, all four corners of the earth. And
so they haven't even had a chance to see if they can do a good or bad job then, from what you're saying.
Yeah, we haven't.
So that's my question. My question is, why would we assume that they would be more benevolent in their supremacy?
Assumption, yeah. So because it's just going off.
Because we're going off nothing.
Yeah.
Also, when you look at,
if you haven't seen it,
and generally speaking, people
all of our problems come from this. Then that gives you an excuse to not work on yourself, right? When you say all of our problems are because of this, that takes away any of the accountability that the individual has in their actions. It's almost like
can do it, or
can exist.
I agree with you. It can do that, but also can it also you make you aware of what you were up against?
Well, I wanted to talk about that part right there. I was going to say that point earlier because my thing is that we got to be aware of like confirmation bias. So if somebody wants to diagnose why people are in a certain situation, they go, okay, we're talking about white supremacy. Why do we stop there? From a academic, intellectual standpoint, you would go, okay, let's do a multivariate analysis. Where does this rank as far as its effect on the people? It may be like they've done this stuff with like sexism and stuff like that. And they'll say, yeah, there's sexism in the workplace, but according to our studies, it's like number 10 on the list. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So then you have people campaigning on this 10th thing. I can't think of the word I want to use. 10th influence. I'll use influence, the best one I can come up with right now. And it's like if you're looking at risk management, you're supposed to be way up here, 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
You're not even coming at
when
this
you look at that, that's
scientifically.
the easiest blanket like reason that doesn't require accountability on your part. That might be the first thing that puts it on someone else, and now it's not your problem. It's not your doing. You don't have to do anything about it but complain. And I think again, I acknowledge, like this young lady, that it does exist. So to answer Help the Bears question, I don't think there's going to be a point in time when it doesn't affect us, but it doesn't affect us as much as folks say, and it shouldn't affect us as much as it does now. Like Vulcan was saying, it's pretty low on the list for the individual.
Okay,
if
but
you would really look at it, you would be able to see like, hey, what did you? And this is the accountability part of it. Okay, if that puts you, at 50%, or if you're at 50%, how much of that 50% can you impact? Right. So now if it's like, well, if I fix myself, I get myself together, and I can get up to 75%. Right. So it just depends on like, but it's like, hey, if I'm down here because of that, and I didn't do anything wrong, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing I need to do to work on myself. Right. There's no personal issues that I have that could have me in this situation because you have such a large blanket statement to blame it on.
Okay, if total is absurd, would it be safe to say they got most of control
In America,
globally in the world?
there's not even that many white people in the world.
Yeah, but who has the most control as far as dictating public policy, influence different countries, how they should think, live,
See, this,
etc.
this is sorry. Y'all continue this, and I'll say my point afterwards.
Well, yeah, he was asking a question.
Yeah.
What was the question? Sorry, I don't know.
If total is absurd, would it be safe to say most control?
I'll grant total. I just think we got to get in the intricacies of this. Like right now, where I am, I feel like total control of what I'm doing for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody, because like we can say obviously in the 1600s, 1700s, people that look like me knew they felt not in control. Is that safe to say?
Yeah.
I feel a lot more in control than people 300 years ago on this land. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine more freedom than I have now. Can any of y'all imagine a way in which you're more free that wouldn't be utter anarchy? Like, I know this isn't clinical here, y'all. So I'm not saying that they can't do it or I can't do it. It means it doesn't exist. I'm just curious. Can any of us imagine more freedom that doesn't lead to anarchy? Right? Because obviously more free is no more but the purge.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
for sure.
But it's not even more free because people can infringe upon your liberties. So that's where it's going to get dicey, philosophically speaking. Is like, what do we mean by total control?
Mm-hmm.
The African Americans on this continent are the most wealthy.
Most wealthy. Yeah.
And we're in the heart
of. I was going to say, like 11% of the world's population is considered white. So I just don't know how much influence that they're able to have on the world. So in America, for sure.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Say that again first.
Like 11% of the world's population is white.
Yeah, that's including America and European countries, right?
Yeah, but again, you said the world.
Yeah,
I asked you to clarify if you meant America. But 11% of the population is white. How much influence on the world are you talking about? Because that was your postulation is.
Yeah, so
they have
America. I use America as what what we consider the Western civilization. So that's including America and Europe. I use them interchangeably.
You're saying that's the world power, right?
But,
so
the world power. The world power is the West.
Saying the white nations, whatever that means, is the world powers. I mean, they can eliminate anybody they want to. They get to set the policy, the rules. They can control the currency. They can have the most access to the resources, even outside of their own lands. I'm assuming that's what we're talking about right now,
Yes, that's what I'm
Yeah. The institutions of education go through them. So you're trained in their way of thinking and to honor their
I have the
values.
most influence because most foreign countries, whether you're in China or Russia, to get properly educated, most times, even in Africa, they go to the West to get the best education. So they have they on the hierarchy as far as influence, the West, Europe and America. Whether it's the percentages, I don't get. My question is, why do you think that because they have less, a low percentage, they don't have great influence over the world or the most influence over the world as far as ideologies?
I would just put, I didn't say they didn't. I was asking you to clarify because you said the world. So 11% of the population is white. You at least have to consider that number when you're talking about that. Talking about influence.
Yeah, I know we stopped this video. We were waxing long on this topic, but I do think it's something that people don't really dice up too much, because I think most of us, when we hear systemic racism, we stop. In most conversations I see online, it's systemic racism and then stop. But we replace all the, because we can imagine that even if all whites benefit from white supremacy in this hypothetical situation, to me anyway, it's hypothetical. In this there's people who are not actually movers and shakers in this particular system. So the movers and shakers, if they were replaced with all Asians or all Latinos or all blacks, whatever people you want to put in there, all Middle Eastern, how sure is the person who is saying that white supremacy is the worst thing that we have, or the problem with all the ills in society, how sure are they that if we were to replace with other people, that it would be better? Of course, and the reason why I think that's an important question, because anybody who understands business or sports or any type of competitive environment, typically the people at the top are the best.
Yes.
Not all the time, but typically the people at the top are there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they're dominating what they're doing. Now, people can cheat. People can exploit an advantage. That does exist. But generally speaking, people that are on top are there because they have something that gives them the edge that they need. And so my point is saying, like, there's good reason to at least ask the question that if this system exists and other ones in power, is that because of the best ones that run the world to get us wherever we're trying to go?
So in other words, white people are the best.
That could be a possibility. That could be a possibility.
Yeah.
What's the deal, Brad?
What up, Brad?
My thing is, why can't that be a question? Sorry, go ahead.
Say again.
Yeah, it's like my thing is, why can't that be a question on the table?
Yo, that's a good thing. You don't hear people say that.
Yeah, and some people might hear me go, that's a genetic. He's talking genetic, like superior genetics. It could be a cultural thing.
Yeah, because what certain coaches esteem, they might esteem certain things other coaches don't esteem that got them in the position.
It could be the case if you put 100 people in a tropical environment and put 100 people in a tundra, ice tundra, whatever you would call it, and then give them 1,000 years, the people in the tundra will be able to overtake the people in the tropical region. It's quite possible, no matter who you put in that situation, that could happen, just because of the climate and what you have to develop in order to survive in that type of climate and the kind of mindset that you assimilate into in order to conquer that area. Because it's less resource dense. Obviously, they're gonna have to come up with ways to beat people around them for resources. And so
basically, what you're saying, Vulcan, is you love the white man.
I love everybody.
Okay, I could see somebody a rebuttal saying I could see people saying I don't think they're the best. I just think they might be more savage. Their culture is just more warlike, more savage than the other cultures. I can see. I heard people. No, that was my point.
Well, anybody who studies evolutionary biology and understands how people that study sociology, anthropology, the most savage people don't rise to the top.
Yeah,
because you got to have more than just that skill. We've all worked with people that were pretty savage. That doesn't mean they end up being your boss.
Yeah, you see that in the streets too. Yeah,
I'm not saying savagery is not a part of it. So
yeah,
please don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm just saying anybody understands how people rule for a long period of time and sustain it and build societies with liberty that we experience it now. Savagery cannot be the main component of it.
That's a good point.
still served him his fucking food.
Hmm?
And they sat there and let that man attack you, and then still
I don't
served,
feel like I was attacked.
still served him his fucking food.
I don't feel like I was attacked.
Not one person asked him to leave. They still took his money. When if that would have been your black ass attacking him like that, you would have been escorted out, and they would
I
not
don't
have
believe
served
so.
you.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. Six.
What is the disagree? Okay, Anton.
No. Okay, listen. Think about it like this,
Okay,
right?
Anton.
Think
So
about
you're
it like
saying that
this.
man did not attack you?
No.
Did you see the same video I saw?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you. Listen.
Real quick.
I
This is what happens when you.
I was gonna say one thing. One thing
I
that
was like, this is what
Anton-
happens when you think your perspective or your opinion is law.
Yeah. Look at her face right there. And my thing is that I wish I could be part of this conversation. There's questions I want to ask
Yeah,
her
she's done.
that would at least level set her on her confidence in her theories. I'm not saying she's wrong, people out there. I'm saying the job of the thinker is to discover the assumptions and commonly held beliefs. So we've got to unearth these assumptions. We got to excavate whatever the root of that stuff is so we can evaluate it. We can measure it, then we can manage it. She may be right, but I never hear these conversations get to any level of real depth. We stop conveniently where we want to stop, but we don't know if we went far enough yet. But I wasn't going to say that. What I was going to say was Anton. One thing I love about Anton, and I don't watch a lot of his stuff, but one thing I really appreciate about him, he does a really good job of doing this, is he always comes across like he's above whatever the conversation is, above the fray. You don't see him get riled up too much unless it's more like a righteous indignation type of deal. And that's a real skill that he's able to do that. It always keeps him in a regal position, almost, like some kind of deified position. He's just levitating above everybody else. And that's a real talent. And I don't mean that and he's doing it in a
So
kind
what
of
you saying
way
is the
all
black
the
man
time.
is God.
Precious.
Put up your third eye, brother.
I won't.
Hey, while we're on the topic of the black man being God, can we stop walking around calling ourselves kings?
No.
Look at me, King.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
I mean, we don't even. We're so Americanized.
Hey,
We despise monarchies. We would
That's
hate
a
a monarchy,
fact.
and yet we walk around calling each other kings. It doesn't make any sense. A king can take your wife
it's to
from you.
uplift the people, my brother.
And how monarchies work, very few. That's why it's a failed system, and that's why we're in the system we're in now, because there's not as much wealth in a monarchy. There's not as much power being spread around in a monarchy. People don't have ownership. The king owns everything. And obviously there's different type of monarchies and blah, blah, blah. I get it, all you internet people out there. But you get the general idea of what I'm saying. Think about that. It's like it's a vacuous system. It's a vacuous compliment and nomenclature. You don't want to be titled that way. And I digress.
I don't know. Great Britain's a constitutional monarchy. It's been around for a while.
But they don't have any power though. They just keeping up tradition.
Yeah, they
but they still have to pay
them. They don't have no.
Yeah, they don't.
What are you talking about? They don't have no power. You
let
just
me say it this way: they still have a Congress. They still have
the most influence in the world.
Say again.
You just said white people have the most influence in the world. The bulk of that gotta be Britain.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I'm saying what the naysayers. Yeah, but
I haven't heard anybody say they respect Britain as far as a world power in a long time. I hear, of course, America, China, India's on the come up. They're like the same population as China now at this point.
Yeah, but I'm referring to the king and queen. For one, it was just the queen. She just passed recently, but I'm saying they didn't have that type of power to influence what the nation, what direction they should go. They had a democratic society. So I was talking about the monarchy. They were just keeping up with the tradition.
To turn my back on the people.
Oh God, what's up, bro?
I mean, I'm just leaving right there. We don't got to stick on it.
And I know you looking at it from a system perspective, right?
Who are you talking about turning your back on?
It's people that have held me down that don't look nothing like me.
That's fine, but Anton, do you understand what a white savior complex is?
No, that's not what this is, though.
Okay,
tell me what it is. I want to know.
Black people need to stop getting flattered when white people do things for them, because white people have an inferiority complex for us in general. The minute a white
Oh
man
my
comes in
gosh.
contact with you, the black man is always superior. Just we're talking about genetically, just at his core. So
Can
white
we
people
pause
have a
real quick?
complex called. You saw the lady where
Because I want the rest of me to really let her cook. But I want to say this. The one thing that we do, and this is why it goes back to what I was saying about the therapy stuff. Whenever you're dealing with somebody, and this doesn't do it necessarily saying she's not that intelligent, but people look for the closest association to whatever they think you're doing. He didn't say anything related to a white savior complex, but the closest thing she can think that would be derogatory in the meaning or have a negative, be a negative on his mindset is that. So she threw that out there.
And keep in mind, he asked her to define what that was, and she hasn't. She's not going to.
Yeah, and then I would say, this is what I do with people to help them out and to help the audience out and say, what have I said so far that would lead you to believe that I have a white savior complex? So they have to quote me first, and then they have to make the link. And when you put that on people's hands, they tend to drop it. It's like water. It's just going to go out right out of their hands because it's a weak correlation, if there's any correlation possible on that. And white savior mentality definitely exists, that's for sure. But what he hasn't even attempted to speak to anything of that nature. And so
praise white Jesus.
Yeah. And so when she's doing that, it just shows the reach that she's willing to go in order to minimize and and undervalue his contribution to the conversation. She's not even asking him to explain himself. He's not saying what she wants to hear. So she's throwing different assumptions. She's throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks. Again, this doesn't mean she's not right. It just means that she's horrible at assessing things when it comes to race because she's already been compromised with her biases.
So far, she's also proven to be incapable of actually landing her points. She's just saying things.
Yeah, she
hasn't offered evidence of anything that any of her claims at all.
And then what she said so far about black people got to stop. And again, I don't want to nitpick her words in the sense of I'm going to nitpick her words, obviously, but I don't want to nitpick her words in the sense of taking her out of its context.
He don't want to, but he's going to do it.
Well, the thing is, because of this,
okay,
I don't want to take her out of context. And I know that sometimes when you're having a very casual conversations, you don't get to get all the nuances of what you mean by what you're saying. I get that. So when she says black people got to stop, complimenting her, I don't remember the word she used was an A word, I think it was, but it was just saying that when white people do things for blacks, don't think so highly of it, don't esteem it as much as you do. That goes against how we're raised. We're raised, and we're taught from the Bible specifically to help people, to adore people, to appreciate people who do things to help you, especially when they don't have to do it. And so we're saying, with this group of people right here, you don't do that. Now, maybe she doesn't mean that. Maybe she means that people just esteem white contributions to your overall well-being too highly. But is she going to provide? Yeah, is she going to provide some kind of rubric so people can determine that, or is she going to leave it out there? That'd be very haphazard and irresponsible to leave it out there without actually providing some type of measurement for that. Like, how much praise is enough for somebody to do good for me? Lil Wayne brings up the white guy who saved his life all the time.
White cop at that.
White cop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he brings him up all the time.
She's saying treat people differently based on their skin color.
Yeah,
exactly what she just said right now.
She was trying to get embryos, and it was like two white people have a complex called. You saw the lady where she was trying to get embryos, and it was like two black embryos, and the white couple.
No, you got
they wanted to save the black. It was a white couple, and it was two black embryos that had been sitting there, and the white people were like, "We'll take it." White people feel like by helping us or saving us,
it makes white embryos that have been sitting there. People
they'll disguise things they do for
why
us.
Can't they just?
He said two black or white embryos that have been sitting there. It's funny how we characterize things. You're gonna sit up there and say, like, everything's sitting there, like, because that does paint a certain picture. The imagery of that, just sitting there, like it's something, like it's minding its own business, and then these people come over here and disturb it. That's how she
lazy boy.
Picture with that.
Them black embryos
sitting on the
sitting there
couch,
waiting for a strong black woman to come get them.
On the reclining
embryo sitting there minding his business.
That's wild.
That had been sitting there, and the white people were like, "We'll take it." White people feel like by helping us or saving us, it makes them more powerful than us. So they'll disguise things they do for us.
Why can't they just genuinely want? Why can't there be
Can you pause it real
individual
quick?
level?
Because there's
If that's true, does that mean that they're gonna help us all to the top until we're like as powerful as them? I mean, like, how does that work? Now we understand in the world that helping people helps yourself. That's how societies evolved to have, from an evolutionary biology standpoint. Not that I hold to all the different tenets of it, but the idea is that you have to have a certain level of altruism and reciprocity in your society for it to thrive. People feel safe to have children and families and things of that nature. You need to have a certain amount of. We know people got to help people to go along to get along, right? But how much help should we accept in that case? How is that going to affect our political aspirations?
None.
Dr. Claude, Powernomics. I mean, are we going to take the white man's money? Are we going to work the white man's jobs? It's better to just be homeless. I'm not taking no money from anybody.
Homeless, obviously.
I just wish that he would ask, and obviously he probably seems like he has a relationship with her, so he doesn't want to make her look bad on camera. But I would like to have her walk through her theories, and we can see how well thought out they are, how vetted they've been. I would like to one question I tell the audience, all the time, and I tell people that are around me all the time, is a good question I always ask somebody is, what's the best counter argument you've heard? For most people, that floors them. They let you know they are a biased individual. They live in an echo chamber and have no windows.
Well, that genuinely want the best for you.
Because there's no such thing as equality between us. This is why white people have to have a system to keep us at a certain distance. Because when we talk about our ability, like physically, mentally, we'll surpass them every time. So they have to keep this gap.
So
it's never that they're just genuinely, they're doing that because they're ahead of you and going to be able to stay ahead of you in certain ways.
I don't believe so.
Okay, it's a white savior. White people do things for black people because they.
But it's not just white people, right? It's
anybody non-black.
The majority of people. If you look at households, right, the average household income, based off of race and demographic, white people aren't too far ahead of black people, and those aren't even the people that are making the.
Well, they're more far ahead in their humanity. You understand that? They have more human rights. For going back to the example we talk about when you got attacked, you could not even defend yourself. You could not even defend yourself because you knew that even if you would have been within your right to defend yourself as not only as a human but as a man, your black ass would have still got locked up.
Well, you don't know what happened to him though.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, it matters.
Well, it matters. I know he got served that food, which was disgusting. I couldn't believe that actually.
That's irrelevant.
It's relevant.
No, because you don't know what happened on the back end. No, I did.
As a man, you couldn't because you knew they were gonna lock your black ass up.
This is the thing.
Even though you went there, you're right.
The way that he operated.
Hold on, real quick. Can you pause it?
Don't understand.
This is the problem with talking to people like this, and this is not just her. This is a lot of people, especially people who look like us. He at no point in time said he didn't feel like he could have defended himself. He actually said multiple times he made the choice not to because he's focused on the outcome. She's refusing. She's literally refusing to listen to someone who was there, involved in the situation because of her preconceived opinions and perspective. And she's arguing with him about a situation that he was in based on how she feels, which is crazy. She hasn't offered any way to substantiate her claims. This is all feelings and emotion. She said you couldn't even defend yourself as a man.
Well,
he said, I just chose not to. I didn't even feel attacked.
That's why the purpose of this show is help people with critical thinking. I apologize, I'm talking so fast and slurring a little bit, probably. I'm talking fast, but the reality is the purpose of the show is to help people understand how to ask questions better. They get to ask better questions in this situation to help with this scenario because he could help walk her through it. I would ask her like, hey, what's your test of falsifiability? How are you testing your theory here? And if she can't provide that, then I'm going to say, well, then how confident can you be in your conclusions? You haven't even really done the work yet. You have your hypothesis out here, but you haven't even started to begin to test it. And you have to state your test of falsifiability. You got to state your hypothesis and how you intend to test it so that we can all do the same experiment. We should all be to do the same experiment you're doing. And so that's why I say with these conversations, I just want to elevate the level of not intelligence and people out there. I'm not equivocating intelligence and critical thinking skills or ability to think critically and utilize critical thinking tools. That's a science. That's something you have to actually go and learn, reading a book, watch YouTube videos, and enhance your ability in that area because regardless of your IQ, you can improve in that area to varying degrees. And I think that even smart people that I've encountered, especially in the minority communities, but it's definitely widespread. You see it in all the universities, in the Ivy League, people's critical thinking skills on the decline. But in this situation, people are not trained to know how to ask the right questions. You know, there's a quote that I say all the time: judge a man by his questions rather than his answers. And the reality of it is, in this situation, Anton's probably, you know, taking it easy on her because it looks like he has some kind of connection to her. But even if, you know, even in taking it easy on somebody, there's still questions you can ask them for them to fill out or elucidate on what they believe, so that we can all see it too. Because as somebody who's dwelling in integrity, if I'm talking to Freshly Enos and I believe something, I want to show them my justification so they can evaluate it as well. Hey, look at it. Did I miss something? So there's my conclusion, whatever I believe, you know, this. Okay, how'd you come to that belief? Okay, this is how. How'd you test to see if it was actually accurate? This is how. I give it all to them. They look at it. They don't just look at my conclusion. They look at the whole process. What did he do here? You left a variable out. You know, this variable could be affecting this particular thing. Oh, snap, you're right. That might affect this thing right here. So I got to go and account for that. So, and obviously I know this is not sounding like casual conversation. This is not sounding like something everybody's going to want to do. And knows, but it's not that difficult once you get accustomed to it. And critical thinking skills help you in every aspect of life. You're less likely to be beguiled by people that look good, smell, you know, good, and they also sound good. It's going to help you in so many ways. You can go ahead.
Is that the reason why we get locked up a lot of times is because we react emotionally and we're not thinkers. We react emotionally. Hear me out here. We react emotionally.
Well, let me put my disclaimer. I am not involved in this part of the conversation.
No,
I'm not saying
think
this.
about it. Think about
That's
it.
him.
Think about it. We react emotionally and we're not thinkers. So
why we react emotionally?
The entire time.
Can we pause that right there?
Because we have.
So this is the thing about what Anton's doing. This might make, and again, Anton's way better at internet success and YouTube success than I am. Probably a lot of the successes than I am. So this is not anything to deride his abilities, because I'm sure they far exceed mine in a lot of ways. But even here, he makes a statement and about us as a community or as a culture. I doubt he's talking genetically. Maybe he could be, but culturally, or just to state the fact that we are an emotional people, right? And that's probably, I'm assuming, a nice way of saying maybe what he really thinks, but perhaps not. But the thing is, she doesn't like that idea. And so, but instead of saying, why do you say that to him, so she can get a better understanding, maybe come to get on the same page, she just goes to having him explain an example or whatever. I forgot what they just did right there. But my point is just saying, why not ask them to fill in the blank? If you don't agree, why? Why do you say that? And a little bit on the topic about, I just remember the topic. The topic was about, you know, Black people being a little bit more emotional.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that most people would acknowledge that Middle Eastern people tend to be a lot more stoic, a lot more, you know, and also Asian people tend to be considered more stoic. Maybe not every single group of Asians, but they're considered to be more stoic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, part of, you know, Asian comedians play on that in their comedy. They talk about the way they talk about their parents and stuff like that. I've seen many white people say that they like being around Black people because Black people are funny. You know, I know a lot of people that say that. When I ask a lot of white people who their favorite comedians are, they typically name Black comedians. Now, maybe they name Black comedians I'm Black. They don't know that I got my white top 5 list. I got my Black top 5 list. I know Freshly, he's one of the few guys that you know, he be on his stuff. He knows all kind of different cultural stuff from all different groups. And I'm similar.
Yep.
You know, and so I can appreciate both, but there are cultural differences there. And we have to acknowledge that we have within our continent, within your state, and then on the wider scale of the world, that there's going to be cultural distinctions. From a biblical standpoint, we need not be afraid of that. I think that's in some way unloving. It's not or prejudging. You see Paul say, hey, the Cretans are lazy, gluttonous people, therefore rebuke them sharply. So he referred to the Cretans as lazy and gluttonous. Does that mean that every single Cretan was lazy and gluttonous? But it's just saying culturally, this is something that they have that's significant, has a significant stronghold on them. Therefore, they're going to need this in order to, you know, navigate life in light of that. Nothing wrong with that. There's subcultures. You know, we know that youthful culture, young people's culture is different than old people's culture. And so we've got to be honest. So she's gonna have it take issue with saying that we're more emotional, we're culturally more emotional. Then she needs to state why. I would love to know why she didn't like that. Is it some kind of study she's doing? Is it some kind of experience or something that has whatever she has? Obviously, anecdotal is not going to be as valid as some kind of study or some whether it's scientific or mathematical, whatever it is, or surveys and stuff like that. But that's the kind of conversations, even if they don't have it on the show, because this is more for entertainment, I guess. You should be asking that in your head when you're watching these types of things. How would they be to substantiate that? You don't think, oh, they agree with what I'm saying, so yeah, that's true. My person's winning, my person's losing. But you want to go like, okay, is your point winning? Is your point losing? And if my point is losing, why am I with loser? I need to separate myself from it.
Things that are passed down.
PTSD.
No, because most of us that exist today have never truly went through anything race related. Most people that are existing in 2022. Okay, so let me break this down. No.
Are you trolling me?
No, I'm serious. Hear me out. Hear me out, Six. Think about it.
I feel like you just trolling
people
me.
that existed before us, right? Ancestors, great grandparents, and all of those type of people, right? The things that they went through in order to become successful. It's interesting because they were incredibly more successful at keeping their households together, becoming professionals, so on and so forth, generating wealth, and even building their own communities. And they experienced true racism, so much so to where they had to be systematically destroyed.
I see the problem. You think racism is like, I'm hanging you from a tree, nigga.
No,
that's what
no.
you think. You don't. Okay,
when you say
I see the problem.
When you say systematically,
you think
I
racism
understand.
is very overt.
No. I know what you're saying when you're saying systematically,
Ooh,
right?
No, you don't.
I do understand
no,
what you're saying.
understand.
But my point is that
even
let's bring it.
So again, people like her, right, wrong, or indifferent, again, because their dwelling is an echo chamber with no windows, when she tries to figure out why he's saying what she's saying, it's so otherworldly to her that her diagnosis is so far off. It's just extremely off. There is no direct connection. What he said, he didn't say anything that would indicate that he thinks that racism is only, I hate you, hang him up on a tree, anything like that. Nothing he said was that. He was just saying that at that time, all the racism that she believes they have now, they had that plus more. You see what I'm saying? And he's saying, so it was worse then because they had all the power over the world and the universe that they have now, according to what they believe. Plus, they can just literally own you. They could take your wife when they felt like it. Now it's illegal to take your wife now. But so my point is just saying that that's what his point was. And she said, oh, you just think it's this, which is a straw man of his position. It's a straw man of his position. And so, again, I want the audience to see out there when we're evaluating these types of things, listen to what's going on. Now, I would have rather Anton say, okay, what did I say that made you think that? You don't have to be rude about it. I just want to know, what am I saying? So they can, you got to do that because then they have to say what you said and then say the connection. You got to be careful. So audience out there, don't say stuff like, why do you say that? Because they'll be like, oh, it just seems like you're saying, or, they're going to go to their feelings. But the thing is, if they have to say what you said first and then say it connected somewhere else, it's going to make them look dumb if they're being disingenuous. Is that what, freshly, and is that fair to say, like asking it specifically that way?
Well, yeah, you can ask him any question right now because he hasn't asked her any question. They're both just saying their thing. Like he hasn't challenged anything that she's saying, and I imagine it would drive the conversation into a place that's not as entertaining. So hopefully he's doing it on purpose, but if not, they're just right now they're arguing. It doesn't look like it, but they're arguing. Neither one of them is asking the other why they said what they said, what they mean. Can you prove those claims or substantiate those claims? They're just talking back and forth.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think when I'm listening to Anton, it's just that I guess when you get accused of those kind of things, you want to explain yourself like he's being misunderstood. That's what it sounds like to me.
It sounds like that to me as well. But the thing is that if you want to hit a moving, you don't want to hit a moving. You don't want to be aiming at a moving target.
Yeah.
So you have to ask the question: to get her to finally
Well, I'm
be
saying-
grounded. What do you mean by that? What am I saying that lends itself to that? And then once they do that, now they're committed to a certain thing. And now you can actually get the understanding going.
Right. Well, once she has to, substantiate her claims with any of these questions that Vulcan is presented, that plus, maybe 10 more questions that he can ask, she would be required to say, hey, here's why I think this.
Mhm.
She would have to be able to pull it from a source outside of her opinion. And
After he asked the
that's where the
question.
falsifiability comes in handy. Is like, hey, is this just what you think about me? Because obviously your scope of influence and your bubble of experience as an individual is so small compared to the general public that it can't be utilized in this way as basically fact or law or science. Like, hey, this is what I think. That's just what you think about him. It's not even accurate. It's weird that she's telling him what he thinks while he's right there.
Yeah.
Back up to the incident that happened supposedly with me with the white guy that was at the shop,
He'll
right?
attack you.
He didn't attack me, but here's the
attacked
thing. The thing that people, and when I looked at the comments and I was looking at the reactions and stuff like that, right? Everybody was reacting the same way that they would normally react is, yo, you should have knocked his head off, or if he even came touch, if he was in your space, you could have defended yourself, so on and so forth. And I was thinking to myself, well, why would I react like that when that's exactly what people would want me to do if they were looking for me to get in trouble? They want me to put my bag on the line. They want me to go viral by doing something crazy. They want me to knock his head off, so on and so forth. But that's not the way in which you deal with confrontation. You got to think through that stuff, right? I can't do anything if I have to get bailed out in the morning and I got to sit in jail for the next 3 days.
Why would you sit in jail when you're on camera telling the man to get away from you and back away from you? And this is during COVID, and he get this close in your face.
But the point
You are
is
within
that
your right to
Can you
remove
pause it real
that person out. I'm not saying you had to knock him.
Shout out to the wise philosopher, Freshly Snipes, because again, this seems to be the same thing. She's coming across as very pro-black, right? But I'm wondering, is she for us or just against them? The guy just said, I don't want to be tricked out of my position. She's saying, no, you should have crashed out because it was a racial issue.
But also, she's contradicting her own statements. Earlier, she said, you couldn't even defend yourself because you know that if you would have put a finger on him, your black ass would have been in jail. But right here, she's telling him, why would you end up in jail when you had all the right? She's contradicting herself.
Yeah.
It's crazy that she's just doing this.
Yeah, that's
the
a
bear
fact.
says she's the type of man that wants her to that she's the type that wants her man to crash out when she gets mad.
Yeah.
And end up in jail so she can say my man defended me. Now he
And
got
nothing-
a record. Exactly.
And the thing is, and now because now that the last dude got locked up for, she's more like, I want me a different kind of guy now.
I was young. I don't like them kind of guys no more.
That dude's locked up, writing letters and stuff like
What
that.
I'm saying? She gonna bail him out with his own money and then clown him for being broke when he can't do something that she wanted him to do because he had to spend $15,000 to get out of jail.
Yeah,
because she ain't know how to be quiet. Crazy.
Job, crazy. Assault record, can't get a job because that assault will follow people. I've seen it 3 times, and then she can't get jobs. First she she might have like 6 months for him. After that, it's gonna be like, well, I think we're growing apart. Like,
I think we're becoming different people.
Yeah, we're becoming different people. And it's like that bread is dried up.
You would have laid a finger on him like
you better slide for your ego and mine.
Yeah, it's facts.
That's a good one.
So now you acting because I like how you put that your ego too, because he probably don't even have an ego, but he got to pretend to have one just to please her. He can't just crash out. He's gonna actually say all the stuff that she would want him to say before and after he crashes out.
Even while she's saying something like, "You knew you would have been in jail if you'd have laid a finger on him." So basically, you want me to go to jail? Cool. I got you.
Far within your right to remove that person out. I'm not saying you had to knock him out, but
so that's
if you would have laid a finger on him like this, your ass would have been in jail. Even though it was.
But my point is that I'm more powerful when I'm thinking through the scenario, because the thing that I'm focused on is at the results. I'm not focused on the current situation. And I think that we as people often focus on how we need to react to the current situation. instead of being proactive with what it is that we're doing in order to get to the results that we got to.
I think we're good.
He had no bearing. He had no impact or influence or anything on what it is that I was going to be doing the minute that he got out of my presence.
Did he go to jail? Did he get arrested for
We-
stalking and harassing and attacking you?
Maybe.
Pause it real
Absolutely not.
quick.
Maybe.
No, he did not go to jail. He didn't.
I also want to say this when he said we're an emotional people, and I've said it too. The reality is, I think when we say that, it's typically more so we don't want to say what it really is. We're very irrational people, because if the emotion was charity, nobody would think, oh, there's some very emotional people over there. Would think, oh, they're loving people over there. But emotion people is a euphemism for something else that we hate worst
Soft
to hear.
SOF
Soft.
capital T.
You know, and again, but I irrational, I don't mean less intelligent. I mean, what I mean by irrational, I mean is not holding to the laws of logic, thinking that you're thinking because you feel very strongly, it's okay to violate rules. I'd almost want to say it's more like a lawless, intellectual lawlessness or unfairness that takes place where you can violate rules. You can special pleadings like she's doing, where she's saying, okay, yeah, you should, help people or like people who do good things for you, but not them. You see what I'm saying? It's like a special pleading because of this overriding philosophy that she has, where she can violate certain things we know are right. You should, if I'm growing up and I'm a white person does something for me, or an Asian or a black person, I'm supposed to say thank you. That's how I was raised. But so she would say, if they're white, don't say thank you, based off how she worded it. But maybe she means don't don't take them out to eat and show a lot of gratitude for it. But either way, that goes against how we were raised to be. So that's what I'm saying with these people like this, with the lack of critical thinking. When we hear that, we got to understand is this principle the big umbrella, and then the principle we grew up with the little umbrella, or is our principle we grew up with a bigger umbrella, and then what she's saying is the little umbrella? Because she's claiming something supersedes that. What I'm referring to, helping, a white person helps you having gratitude for that.
I see it.
Maybe.
No, we did not.
I'm telling you,
Didn't say if
Six.
he did he? No.
I think the
I
rest
don't
of it
believe
was
that
not
he went to
useful
jail,
for
but
it.
I do believe that he was affected financially.
Oh, that was it.
Mhm.
But yeah, it looks different right there in the middle.
Yeah,
Got the
Anton.
glasses on.
Put the glasses back on.
So you prefer your man with glasses on, Vulcan?
It's none of your business. Pause. But yeah, everybody out there, we got another video, so we out.